Pandora's box is about to open wide.
Welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, to Pandora's Box. It's an old school pod today, and of course what I mean by that is it's just me and the boys.
Oh,
Me and the boys. The mayor of Winkletown himself, Bullwinkle.
Oh, yeah.
And the Drewster the Bear.
What's up, people?
Drewster the Bear.
Mm-hmm.
How's it going, guys? You all right?
Excited, man. Excited. Another old school pod. I feel like we're running back the years every time we do one of these.
Running back the years.
Again.
Yeah, we've had some awesome guests on recently. Pat McNamara, what a guest. Of course,
that was
obviously, Special Forces legend Pat Mac, as well as metaler, gardener, husband, father, all-round cool guy. And then, of course, we had Olympic athlete, Commonwealth gold champion, weightlifting coach extraordinaire, Michaela Breeze. So some awesome high-level people on. Let's face it, people that probably we have no place talking to be honest with you. But like that awesome guests, and yeah, really appreciate them coming on the pod. But it's an old school one today, ladies and gentlemen, so thanks for joining us. I'm not going to pretend that I'm an expert on this topic. I've looked into it a little bit, but I feel like we would be amiss to have our first sort of old school pod and not mention at least a little bit the mental Trump assassination that happened, obviously not that long ago. Yeah, I mean, crazy. So, I mean, I think obviously a lot of it is common knowledge by this point, but yeah, a Republican, what would you even call it? Like, it's like what do they do? It's like a rally, whatever you call it, you know, when they're going to, I guess, promote themselves for like the presidential candidate running in America. And it was like a Republican sort of rally. And yeah, President Trump, assassination attempt, moved his head at the last minute. Bullet went through his ear.
Nearly was a
Otherwise, he would have been freaking. His head would have probably been blown off.
Neo dodged it.
Yeah, man, he literally did. And I was saying, I've said to both of you guys, like, lucky that he's such like one of those guys, because everyone's different, aren't they? And I think there's even words for it, like you're a such and such speaker or a such and such speaker. But yeah, he's one of those people that's very animated when he talks, and he's like always moving his arms and his head and stuff. But if he was one of those guys that just is like completely still, he would be dead for sure, because it would just been an easy shot. But like, luckily for him, like, whether you call it fate or God on his side or whatever, or just random chance, just moved his head right at the last second, and luckily it went through his ear rather than his head. But
yeah, he said he was like looking to turn around to like see something on a screen. There was some screen behind him where he was gonna he was gonna like point out like this and basically like look at it. So he said he turned to almost like look at the screen and stuff, and that was like when it went past, you know.
Yeah,
so I've seen kind of side on.
Yeah, I seen the footage, but I didn't know that was why he did it. But obviously it's sort of like blown wide, like all this different speculation, you know. Obviously a lot of people like on the right are saying you know, similar to sort of like JFK, was it like CIA, you know, sort of something like that. Obviously there's that which I will obviously say as well, that whole grassy knoll thing. Obviously it's neither confirmed, it's not like confirmed one way or another whether there was any sort of like more like malignant intent, and there was like an extra, you know, there was an extra shooter, or if it was like CIA involvement or some sort of other organization involvement. I don't want to just like single out the CIA. Don't come and kill me, CIA. But,
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. I'm not singling out the CIA or anything, you know. But yeah, just like, you know, it seems in like a similar vein, obviously, as where like, you know, a lot of Republicans are now saying like, you know, did somebody on the left like pay someone off to take out Trump? Because on the left there is so much like visceral hatred for Trump, like on the extreme left, I should say. Like, you know, there's a lot of you know, left-wing obviously people in America that are like normal folks, you know what I mean? But there's also like a lot of radical crazy freaking lefties on the extreme end, you know, and they like hate Trump almost like with like a bizarre passion, it seems like to me. Like even sometimes things I see just like on social media and stuff about people writing about Trump, and I just think like, really? Is he actually like that bad though? Do you know what I mean? Like, and there's also controversy, isn't there? Because what was it, like a day before or a couple of days before, like Biden said something, he made a speech and he included Trump in it, and then he said something like, we are putting you in the crosshairs or something like that, or we're putting you through the crosshairs. Now is the time to put Trump in our crosshairs or something like that, which is like, because now a lot of people are saying like, well, some like demented like fan of yours might have like taken that literally, you know, and then gone and.
Did you see that the guy was like in a BlackRock commercial as well? Like the kid that like or the 20-year-old that like took the shot and stuff. he was in like this BlackRock commercial that was like
what's BlackRock?
BlackRock is like one of the biggest financial institutions in the world, like one of the
okay.
They basically say like BlackRock are like linked to like all the main black like,
what did you just say, Drew?
BlackRock I like
black phallus.
Yeah, they're linked to like massive corporate companies and stuff, you know. But in one of their adverts, he appeared in it as this like they were in a school and like he was in the crowd of the kids at school. So there people that are like making that link, like did BlackRock have something to do with it? And did you also see the woman directly behind Trump, who people are saying are like some high up person in the FBI? And she's a chick. I watched like this video on it and it was like pretty mental. Like this behaviorist was like talking about how people react in situations when like, you know, when things
extreme
happen.
stress, adrenaline
and all that stuff. And like the reaction of everyone in the crowd, what they did behind, they all kind of like went down and stuff like this. But there was this kind of like a banner that went up in front of this like woman, and you could see her doing something, and she was like getting her phone out and like kept looking over towards like where the shooter was, like just like in the minutes before he took the shots. And then when the shots happened, she had her phone already recording and was just doing it like behind like this, like.
What? And she didn't really react to the
and she didn't react compared to everyone else around her. She like went down when it first happened, but then was there, and it was almost like her sole purpose was just with her phone, and everyone was like looking around. Like normally, like when that happens, you'll look to your side and see what's going on and try and figure it out.
Yeah.
But she didn't look anywhere to the side, and she was just doing this with her phone. It was almost like her sole job was to like catch his head getting blown up, like, you know. And so it was really weird.
I mean, yeah, it definitely sounds freaking weird, man. I mean, I guess you could say like there are some strange people out there with maybe like very, very high stress tolerance, and maybe if she was like a bit, I don't want to say bizarre because that almost sounds cruel. Like maybe she was just so freaking weird. She was by chance already recording, and then just like didn't react the same as other people. But at the same time, it does seem a bit weird, doesn't it? You would think that something like that.
She was the only person out of the whole crowd that like kind of reacted.
And I think your natural defense mechanism is suddenly to like almost like try and take cover or something. But then I guess maybe there is just some super weirdos out there that have like no, what's it called, self-preservation. Like I don't know, but definitely seems strange. Definitely seems strange.
I thought the whole like Secret Service aspect of it as well was really weird. That like how do you have a guy on a roof? And I was speaking to Paul about this earlier. Apparently the rifle that the guy had about 500 meters range, and he was in 140 meters range.
Yep.
And for some reason, people stood outside, have seen him on this roof, pointed out to the police. There's a guy on that roof.
Yeah.
But apparently, the person, the woman or whatever in charge, said that he was identified as a suspicious person, but it didn't go any further than that.
Well, you think somebody lying on a roof with a freaking gun is about as a threat as you can get? Yeah, I watched a cool video with Tim Kennedy, who's a Green Beret or was a Green Beret in the United States military, and he's also I think done like Secret Service like protection people. So he's quite like an expert on the subject, and he said that the whole event and the whole like turn of events seemed like completely off to him. He said that like the way that everything went down, there's no way that should have gone down with him knowing what the procedures are for those sort of events, and like the protocols are to make sure that things like that don't happen. So he said that he thinks that there is something like real fishy going on. And as I said, this is a guy that's worked in that field. Do you know what I mean? He's not like a conspiracy theorist. This is a guy that's done it himself, and as a result, he's saying like this is not how you carry out these procedures to make sure things like that don't happen.
Apparently, like some of the Secret Service people that were on duty as well weren't actually like trained Secret Service people.
Well, you can sort of tell that.
Yeah, I know.
Have you seen some of the footage of it?
It's like why were they? They were like some Homeland Security people and that, so they weren't exactly completely au fait with like the Secret Service protocols and everything. So they're just like looking a bit like they don't know what's going on. And it's like what that seems a bit strange. Like why and also the news whatever news station was covering that event as well. Apparently, like this might just be a coincidence as well, but never like live stream or very rarely live stream the events, but they were like live streaming it that day. So it was almost like that was a bit weird. BlackRock as well again was shorting on the stock exchange, was shorting Trump's company. So so that's almost like they had some inside knowledge. Like they were shorting it because if he would have died, his stocks would have fallen like completely. So it's almost like they were shorting his company, and it was like it's like when the Twin Towers happened. There was like some big companies were shorting whatever the World Trade Center company as well, and it was almost like they knew kind of it was going to happen, so that they would have made a load of money off it basically. So that was a bit weird. And
it's like a lot of correlation going on, isn't there?
Yeah, and there was no drone. Apparently, for those events, it's really common for you to have drone surveillance of like to almost like fly around and see if there is anyone in around, and that just didn't happen. It wasn't written into like the risk plan for that day as well.
Which is
it's just weird, isn't it?
It is weird, but then I mean, even without that though, I mean, I don't think we've mentioned yet the fact that like several members of the crowd for like ages before the shooting took place, apparently were saying to like the police, because obviously it's not just the Secret Service there, there's also just normal police. We're saying to police, there's a guy with a gun on the roof. There's a guy with a gun on the roof, and you'd think in that situation, like if I was a police officer and I was at an event like that and somebody said there's a guy on that roof with a gun, you'd immediately be on the radio and you'd be like hauling ass over there with your frickin' gun out and like, you know, trying to like synchronize other people meeting you there to get on that roof to check.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because like, what's the worst case scenario? Like the worst, like, or the best case scenario rather, is that it's a false alarm. Boom. Okay. Threat neutralized. Or like, you know, basically threat neutralized one way or another. If there is someone there, then you know what I mean? Like, not just like, what were the police just like, don't worry about it.
Apparently as well, there's some like text evidence of that some people in the Secret Service were warned about this guy like an hour before the shooting as well. So that's another like that's another strange. Weird one. But what I was watching about that, and they were saying like they can't wait to see when those texts actually come out, because apparently that's actual evidence of a timeline of like when like people were informed and stuff like that, and like no action was taken for a long time after that, and it's all a bit weird. But I'm so glad it didn't actually hit his head.
Yeah, me too.
I think a thing that almost makes it like way crazier to me as well is that it's not just like it was any random presidential candidate that this happened to. We're now in a time where America itself is so split. Like you said, everyone on the left seems to absolutely despise the people on the right. People on the right seem to despise the people on the left. And it's such a point of tension. And probably the most opposing political figure ever in Trump. You would think if there's anyone that you would need to take all of these risk assessments with, and it would be Trump.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
It seems mental that he's the one that for some reason they didn't have all of this for.
Yeah, because the left in like America, like they've have compared him literally to like Hitler and stuff, which I think is like outright slander. And I think that like slander is something that should be taken really seriously, man. I think that like if you accuse somebody of something, there should be like some evidence to back it up. And don't get me wrong, we all sometimes say things in the heat of the moment that we don't mean, but that's not what that is. That's like calculated, repeatedly saying that, comparing him to Hitler, who obviously is like someone that was like responsible for like mass genocide and directly responsible for the start of World War II, which caused the death of millions of people worldwide, and changed the landscape of the world forever. To compare him directly to that is a calculated political move to try and diminish him, make it less likely that he will get into power, and to make yourself by contrast look better. Do you know what I mean? So like, apart from anything, it's just very irresponsible. Yeah, very irresponsible.
It's crazy as well. Like that when I look at like say like Trump now compared to when I first heard about him, because all those years ago, like I didn't know anything about him, and all that I would know about him really is just what you hear from the media and what kind of like, you know, all of this stuff. So I built up this funny image in my head of him because of all of this stuff that I would hear, what was just
propaganda.
Yeah, all of that stuff. And it's like now he's like coming in, and then it was like, and then he was gone. So then like Joe Biden was in, and all that stuff. So it's this kind of out of sight, out of mind. And coming back this time, it's almost like you get, like, from watching, like, videos of him or being more interested in this, kind of seeing who he is as a person and that, it's like, oh, he seems quite different to this thing that was portrayed, like, by the media and everything that I knew of it. So now it's like, I've definitely changed my opinion about him as a person and that, just from like, this second time round, you know?
I think that's the danger as well of like slandering someone to the extent that he has been slandered as well, because in a way you're shooting yourself in the foot, because now whenever he talks in person, he's never going to live up to the sort of the negative image that's been sort of created of him, like sort of fabricated of him. Do you know what I mean? And like, you know, is he a saint? Like who is a saint? Do you know what I mean? But like I can tell
no one.
From what I can tell, right? From what I can tell personally, it seems to me that he genuinely wants what's best for America and the American people. And I think that compared to, you know, the main opposing party, you know, the Democrats in America, he seems a lot more sincere in that than they do. That's what it comes across like to me.
Yeah, me too.
Here's a question, right?
Yeah.
Sort of almost to play not devil's advocate, but to open it up to why this is even the case and why America is so split at the moment. Because I find it really interesting when you look back to the like Mitt Romney and Obama
administrations. Like,
when those two were battling
Mitt Romney was the Republican candidate and Barack Obama was Democrat. Yeah,
when they were battling against each other, there was so much respect between the two parties and between each other. And obviously, when Trump came in, Trump's style of debating people is very provocative.
I can swing my golf club better than you.
Yeah. It's always going to be like almost an insults match when you go into a Trump debate, which people love, you know, but that has definitely, I think, opened up the hatred a bit more.
I guess like what you could argue to that though is the reason that Trump was like that was because there was almost like this false narrative in a way in that was almost like being portrayed yet again, so almost like through American media and stuff like that say maybe I don't know, under the Democrats and under Barack Obama, it was like this like peaceful heyday and everything was really good. And Barack Obama was a very smooth talker. He was very charming. But let's not forget, I think there were more civilians killed in like drone strikes and things like that under Barack Obama's administration than there were from like any other presidential reign ever in US history. I can't remember if it was just drone strikes, but it was something like that. So obviously my point is, I think where Trump knew all this, he was essentially almost like calling them out on their BS. And yeah, of course, when you then do that, you're opening yourself up to attack as well. And I think that he was very aware of that, but he was just up for it. I think he was just like up for the fight because he thought that he could out-argue whatever points that they would make, which is like, it's ballsy, and a lot of people don't have the courage to do that. And I mean, there is risk with that. Do you know what I mean? I think whenever you say something that's going to be controversial, you know that a lot of people aren't going to be like, you're opening yourself up to danger. But what is that? There is a philosophical saying. There's one I think I've said before on the pod, which is a friend to all is a friend to none, which is a really good one to remember. Essentially meaning that if you don't stand for anything in life, then like is your life even worth sort of living to an extent? Do you know what I mean? And another one is, I can't remember the exact quote, but it's something along the lines of, a man that has no enemies lacks courage, or something like that. Do you know what I mean? So like my point is like when in life do you decide that it's important to take a stand for something? You know, what are the things that are important for you to take a stand about, and when do you decide actually that you are going to chirp up? Like at what point do you hear something that you oppose that you think now is the time to say something, or do you just not at all? And if you just want to like be like, nah man, it's nothing to do with me, then that's fine. But what the risk of that is you could end up being ruled by someone that is essentially gobbier than you and more courageous and more bold with their tongue, but less just, and actually, less likely to do things that are right for the population, which is at the end of the day, it's our responsibility to make sure that, when we have a government in power, the things that they are doing are for the betterment of the country and the people. You know what I mean? And if you can't trust that, then something's really gone wrong. And if you've let that happen just because you just want to keep your head down, well, then I guess you need to like ask yourself, like some deep questions with that,
I think
here's a hypothetical. Oh, sorry, Drew, you go ahead.
Just to finish off on that one, like judging people on their actions as well, like rather than their words. So like when say like Trump was in power and the kind of policies he put in place and the things he was doing, say like with the wall and like immigration and all of that kind of thing, like. He might have been talking and arguing and doing all this stuff, but like, what were the things he was actually doing? What was the economy like? Like, what were the borders like and stuff like that? And like,
exactly. A lot of it was because of the illegal immigration.
Talker, like in another person or something. But like, what were they doing with their policies? And it like seems like America's gone a bit crazy in the whole like Biden administration, and like how the borders have all been opened up and stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, he might sound like a bit of a donkey sometimes with the way he like talks and that, but like, you know, look, what are the actual things you're doing with like the policy and stuff, you know?
Yeah, 100%. But I think, you know, it's funny because obviously we were saying earlier on about how a lot of people on the right in America think that maybe there was almost like some left involvement in terms of like the assassination attempt. But there's also, have you heard on the left, a lot of people on the extreme left are speculating that it was all a setup by the Republican Party, and that Trump set it up to gain votes. And the extreme left are saying that. But
for that.
Yeah, but that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, like, really? Like, because, like, you are opening yourself up to such a massive accident. Even if it was someone like Pat Mack, who was, like, you know, his whole speciality was being, like, an extreme marksman. You know, that was one of his, like, main things in like, the special forces in America. Even if you had someone like that, he was, like, you know, dead.
150 meters, tip of the air. It's a bit.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's like accidents happen, and like to think that like you would risk your life, like so closely risk your life. But like, shoot me in the ear, but not in the head. Okay, like that is so ridiculous to me.
It would be different if like he got shot in like the hand or something, and his hand was out. But getting shot in the ear, like I don't think they're ever going to take that kind of risk.
Your ear is like what, like an inch and a half from your brain, or something like that. It's like, dude, it's like I just cannot believe that would be the case. I just don't really see how, like, if there was somebody, say, on the left in America that did believe that, I don't see what they would say here to make us believe that could be a plausible thing. Because as I said, it just seems like too extreme of a risk for anyone to take, to put their life on the line for something like that, you know?
Here's a hypothetical for you, because obviously we now live in a timeline where by some miracle Trump did move at that last second. But say he hadn't, and that shot had killed Trump, what do you think would have happened next in America?
Do you know what? I mean, pandemonium. I mean, it's hard to say. I was going to say absolute pandemonium. Like, I don't know if necessarily like a civil war would have happened, but I would think it would have been the closest thing to it since the American Civil War.
There would at least be lots of riots and stuff like that.
It would have gone mental.
It would have been.
Me too.
It would have been crazy.
I think it would have been a sad day for the West, man. It's probably a sad day for the world, but like, yeah, it would have just almost been like, man, what the hell is going on with the world nowadays?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think that's what my thought. Like, I would have been really almost like sad, being like, what the hell is going on with the world nowadays? You know,
pretty crazy that like Biden's like stepped down now as well. Like,
yeah, well, I think it was almost just like, how could he not have?
Yeah, I think it had to happen.
How could he not have? Do you know what I mean? With
do you
his,
think
like,
it would have
mental
happened
state?
if that assassination attempt didn't happen?
I still think it would have happened. Yeah, because he's been doolally for years now, man. I don't even mean that. I don't mean that to be like derogatory or insulting another guy, but he's just super freaking old. I mean, the amount of freaking the literally thousands, if not millions, of memes of him out there nowadays, just like bumbling his words and like stumbling over his words, and just like clearly forgetting questions he's just been asked, and then just like saying absolute rubbish, or like falling down the stairs of his private jet. Like, it's just, he's clearly got like onset dementia or something. Yeah. And the idea that you are the leader, like literally the leader of either the most powerful nation in the world, or if not certainly one of the most powerful nations in the world, and you are at that state of mental deficiency is mental. It's crazy, you know.
I think I'm right in saying this. I for anyone listening, I need to fact check this because I could be wrong, but I think Biden ran for president in 1988 as well, which is pretty mental to think.
He ran a couple of times. I don't know when.
It's pretty mental to think that 1988 he was running, and now in 2024 he was still going to be running at some point.
I mean, he must have already been a decent age then. I mean, that was only 36 years ago.
Is he 81?
I don't know, man.
I think
old enough to be any of our granddads.
Yeah,
1988 and 2008 apparently.
Yeah. So 2008, was that the year that
he was Obama's vice, wasn't he?
Well, 2008, I think was the year that Obama got in?
Yeah, he was Obama's vice.
Ah, right.
Do you know anything about the lady who's
Kamala Harris?
Kamala Harris.
Yeah, I don't even know.
I know enough to know that I probably wouldn't put my faith in her to lead the
She's
American.
not a very
really
good public speaker. I heard. I was like, oh, that doesn't sound too good.
No. I don't know. Like I say yet again, I'm not like an expert on the subject, but from what I've seen, I've seen like again almost like quite a lot on memes. I know you can't base like your thoughts on just like memes you've seen, but that's so 2024, isn't it?
Yeah, this is our research. Which memes? Yeah, just saw
some memes, just taking the mick out of her over something stupid she said. Nah, if that was the case, then somebody could make memes taking the mick out of us as well. But yeah, I don't know. Like from what I have seen, I don't know. I just think she probably comes across as a little bit like what the problem is at the moment, in my opinion, probably with that party in general, is like a bit too shady, gotten a bit too used to saying one thing but having a secret agenda, which I think is such a massive problem in life. Like, say what you frickin' mean.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And if you don't think something, then don't say it. Don't lie to people to try and have your way with them. Like, that seems to me to almost like be a problem. I mean, I know a lot of people would say, man, that dude is so frickin' wrong for saying that. Trump's the one that does that. And like, yeah, fair enough. If that's your opinion, fair enough. But that's what it seems like to me. That's what I'm just saying. That's what it seems like to me.
That's that thing of judging on the actions, not the words so much, is like super important, because I think people can say like a lot of crap, you know, even if you don't mean to, you know, it's just like just being a human being, but it's like, what do you actually do? Like, where you're like, you know, like what do you like? What are you saying?
Actions speak louder than words.
Yeah, man. I really think they do, and I think that's like the important thing. And like, don't even look at what people are saying about people. Look at like what the actual people are like doing in their life and stuff.
Yeah,
and
then, I know that fuel prices now are like way worse than they were under the last Trump administration and things like that in America. Like the cost of a lot of things have gone up.
In general, isn't it? I think. Like,
man, did you guys see that freaking Hulk Hogan thing of him endorsing Trump?
Yeah, I did.
That was freaking so legendary. Man, mate, why doesn't stuff like that happen in this country, man?
Gonna work for me, brother.
That was the most American thing I've ever seen. That was freaking brilliant. Literally Hulk Hogan on stage during like a Republican rally, just in his normal clothes, and then he's like, I'm gonna vote for my hero, brother. And rips off his freaking top, and he's wearing a freaking Trump 2024. I was like, mate, America. Freaking God bless America, man.
Did you see Nigel Farage as well? Like, went up on stage on a Trump convention. I was like,
I didn't see it on. Was that the same one?
Surprised at that. It was. I think it was a different one, but it was like I saw it was from like 10 days ago. I saw like the video.
No, they get on, don't they?
Yeah,
they get on really well.
But then you know, from when we were like talking with this last like the UK general election and stuff, and like about like reform and Nigel Farage, and I didn't really know anything about him until I like did a little bit of research around that time, and then like, but he got up on stage and like endorsed Trump in this like 5-minute thing. And it was super eloquent, super like, you know, it was really good, like, you know, and I saw some videos of like some Americans being like, this is actually the most amazing endorsement I've ever seen of someone for Donald Trump and stuff, you know. It's it was really cool.
They're almost like parallels in a lot of ways, aren't they? They're like parallels from across the pond, like
common sense.
Whether you actually believe this is the case or not, they're both basically like painted as like these like controversial right-wing figures, but you know, I think that, you know, they both have a lot of their fans. Like, do you know what I mean? Because I think they're saying things that a lot of other politicians aren't saying, and there's this honesty about them which like a lot of other politicians don't seem to have. You know, which I think is obviously like a massive thing. And yet again, as I said, it's just my opinion, you know. But yeah, crazy times. But man, that Hulk Hogan thing, that was like that was the best thing ever, man. I wish something like that equivalent would happen in the UK. It just doesn't.
Yeah,
it just doesn't.
But like just needed like a little plane flyover and an eagle landing on his chest.
Oh man,
Hulk Hogan was like good as well for his age. I was like, man, he's ripped.
Dude, he's Hulk Hogan, man. He's freaking Hulk Hogan, man. He's a freaking legend, isn't he? Yeah. But he's a legend, yeah. But that was honestly, I think, you know, I'm such a big wrestling fan and stuff like that, and I almost love even with like movies, just like really over the top like comical things like that I think if I was like an American, that's what all it would take for me. I'd be like sold, mate. Sold. Right, Hulk Hogan just did that. Better fuel prices. Sold. Yeah. Right, that's it. I don't need to know anymore.
We don't need.
That's all I need to know.
Get him on.
Right, who's Hulk Hogan voting for? Because whoever Hulk's voting for, I'm voting for him, man. Yeah, I wonder. It's a shame in a way that it didn't happen before we had Pat Mack on, because I'd have loved to have talked to Pat Mack about it, because he would have had loads of in-depth, like he would have been like almost like a great guy to consult on the whole issue, and he would have been like, well, this is how it breaks down in these situations and blah 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 blah. I can imagine what his views would have been on it. I can imagine like from what I know of Pat Mack, but that'd have been really interesting. But yeah, I thought it would have been I thought it'd have been wrong not to mention at least the subject of the Donald Trump. Obviously, it's a massive thing. How many freaking off the top of my head, has there only been 4 either attempted assassinations or No, wait a minute. There's been loads more. Isn't there? There's been loads of freaking attempted assassinations of American presidents. I was just thinking the ones I was thinking of was obviously Abraham Lincoln. That was a successful assassination. Ronald Reagan was an attempted assassination. And then he came back to then win the presidential race and became the president of the United States. JFK obviously had his head blown off at the grassy knoll. Obviously Donald Trump, but there's been loads. There's been loads of frickin' American presidents that have either been assassinated or have had an attempted assassination, which is mad, isn't it? It's mad.
Bloody crazy.
So many.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but changing the subject slightly, I thought it'd be cool to talk today about apex predators. Apex predators,
here, baby.
Would you the apex predator, Drew Armstrong? What is an apex predator? Do you guys know what makes an apex predator an apex predator?
The top of their food chain.
So what do you mean by expand on that?
So I would say an apex predator is anything that doesn't get hunted.
Yes, you are right. So there are obviously lots and lots of predators on the planet, but there are also lots and lots of predators that are also hunted by something else. An apex predator, by definition, is a predator that is right at the top of its food chain and as a result will not get hunted by anything else. And it's actually quite an interesting subject the more you look into it, because there are certain animals that you would, I guess, maybe initially just thinking off the top of your head to think, yeah, surely that's an apex predator. But then when you look into it more, you're like, oh, actually, it's not an apex predator, and something actually maybe more surprising is an apex predator. But I thought it'd be really interesting to talk about, what makes an apex predator an apex predator? What are the largest apex predators currently on the Earth, on both land, sea, and air? And then what are the largest apex predators in the history of the world?
Nice.
A really cool subject, I think. I think anytime you're just dealing with just freaking awesome creatures, and I think, even like whether it's like in fantasy, even creatures that aren't real, I just think it's so cool whether you're watching like Smaug in freaking The Hobbit, or like the dragons in like, Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, like anything like that. It's just like cool. It's just fascinating. But when considering all these ones that we're going to talk about today are actually real, just so cool. So, what do you reckon is the largest apex land predator on the Earth at the moment? What would you say?
At the moment?
Yeah, land predator, apex land predator.
Oliphant?
No, because they're not a predator.
Oh, yeah, they're
herbivores. They're herbivorous.
I was
thinking
they're the largest. Definitely couldn't get really killed by anything, I don't think. But,
they're the largest land mammal, or largest land creature in general in terms of like overall mass and size. But not the largest apex predator.
I've got my answer.
What's that?
A polar bear.
You are correct. The mayor of Winkletown. 5 points.
Damn, son.
Yep. On land, it's the polar bear. Although some people claim that the Kodiak bear can get as big as the polar bear. On average, the polar bear is the largest apex predator.
Man, aren't they like 12 feet tall?
Yeah, they can
They're
get
like
that.
Massive.
Yeah, they can get that too. Yeah, so the largest ever. It just goes to show how staggering this is. I mean, I've never seen a polar bear with my own 2 eyes, and I imagine it's like probably something that you would absolutely never forget. I said I have obviously talked about it on the pod in the past. I did see a brown bear when I was skiing in America, but it was very far away, so I didn't get that like necessarily like awe-inspiring feeling of how big it was compared to me. But the largest ever polar bear recorded weighed a staggering 1,002 kilograms. That's 2,209 pounds, and was 12 foot tall on its hind legs.
That's insane.
Truly a monstrous beast. It was shot and killed in northwestern Alaska in 1960. Its pelt and skeleton are on display at the Anchorage Museum in Alaska. So you could actually go and see it to this day, which is like quite cool.
That almost seems quite sad to me that it was shot and killed, because that's
too.
like having a beast of that nature. I almost want it to be out there somewhere.
Yeah, and it's interesting, just sort of leading on from what you just said. Nobody seems to know exactly why it was shot today, but it was most likely out of a combination, either one of these or a combination of these, either out of perceived threat or out of trophy hunting, but most likely a combination of the two. If this was because I know that there are a lot of towns in Alaska where they have like reinforced windows and doors and stuff, because at night polar bears will like come around the towns and they'll like try and get in.
Jesus,
which is freaking scary. So like I know that there's like little hostels and stuff that you can stay in the middle of nowhere in the snow in Alaska, and they have like bulletproof doors and windows and stuff to make sure that the polar bears don't come in and like eat the people in the middle of the night. How crazy is that? What's
the saying with bears? Is something like black bears fight back, brown bears play dead,
yeah.
and then like white bears just say your prayers pretty much.
Because as well, polar bears, unlike brown bears and black bears who are omnivorous and eat plants and meat, polar bears are completely carnivorous, and they live in a very harsh environment where they sometimes go long periods without food. So if they see you, they will try and eat you. There's like and they can when bears can run like about the same speed as a horse. So you're screwed, man. You're like, do you know what I mean? Like you are not outrunning a bear. You just literally, as you said, you have to almost like pray.
I saw a story the other day that was really funny about polar bears and bears, and it was about this one albino brown bear who, like, over and over again, it was saying it was the most unlucky creature of all time, because people kept seeing it and trying to rescue it because they thought it was a polar bear that was like not in its climate. So they would anesthese it or whatever, and then fly it, tranquilize it, fly it over to the Arctic or wherever polar bears are, Alaska or wherever, and just like drop it there, and then this like brown bear that would be used to like, these luscious forests would just be in the snow, like
man.
So, and then it would like make its whole way back, and then they would like see it again and be like, there's the polar bear, and then like, bring it back.
Did they not think that like just get a freaking bear expert that would be able to tell by like its like claws and its like face and that it wasn't a polar bear?
Man, it even got brought to like polar bear exhibits in like zoos and stuff.
That's so
and
dumb.
then the people that were like meant to be looking after the polar bears were like, well, that one's clearly not a polar bear.
I was going to say, like, I reckon that I could be able to tell the difference. And I'm like, do you know what I mean? Like, they're a freaking... I'm not on paper a bear expert.
Yeah.
Not on paper. Unofficially. But yeah, no, that's crazy. But yeah, massive. Anyway, so cool. Polar bears, largest apex predator currently on land. What do you reckon the apex predator of the sea is currently?
Drew, you want to answer?
Predator, great white?
No.
My guess would be an orca, but it could be.
Or it could be
sperm whale.
Yeah. So you are right in orca. Now, a lot of people might think the sperm whale and might think, mate, how can it not be a sperm whale? Because as we talked about on the pod before, the sperm whale is the largest toothed predator in the entire planet, which is a cool, crazy feat, and nothing but love and respect to the sperm whale. Sperm whales are my favourite animals. So cool. Potentially, maybe the most intelligent animal on this planet. But yeah, the reason why the killer whale is the apex predator and not the sperm whale, although the sperm whale is the largest toothed predator on the planet and is of course famous for being a colossal beast that hunts and feeds on giant and colossal squid, the reason that the killer whale is the apex predator of the ocean is because killer whales have been recorded actively hunting sperm whales in the past. Whereas there has never been a recorded instance of a sperm whale attacking a killer whale. I'm sure there are instances in the past of sperm whales killing killer whales, but that's different than them actively hunting them. That would be in a defensive manner. But certainly, orcas definitely probably have the most out of all the things that they could potentially hunt. I have no doubt that they have the most respect and the most fear for the sperm whale, but clearly not enough that they still will never, that they won't actively try and hunt them. One thing that is important to mention with that, though, however, is that pods of sperm whales never include the big bull males. So big bull sperm whales usually live a solitary existence and only seek out females in times of breeding, whereas the females tend to be the leaders of the pods. And then they will bring up their young, usually in groups, a bit like elephants. So there'll be like a mum, say like a sperm whale, and like a grandmother sperm whale, and then they will bring up the boys and the girls, so to speak, the males and the female whales. And then, the male bull sperm whales are the biggest and most aggressive of all the sperm whales. So I don't think, I may be wrong, I don't think there's ever been an instance of an orca, a pod of orcas attacking a male bull sperm whale. Probably because they are so big and dangerous and aggressive. But when they attack the pods sperm whales that they do attack, what they're usually trying to do is incapacitate a calf, incapacitate a young sperm whale, to the point where it is so messed up it just dies. What they usually do is they often bite the flippers and stuff like that so it can't swim anymore, and then they'll drown. They'll drown. By that point, there's nothing that the other sperm whales can do, so there's no point in them trying to fight them off at that point. So then they'll mourn and swim off, and then the killer whales will then feast upon the calves. But yeah, it's important to mention that. So I don't think they necessarily go for like the big bull males, but they have been recorded fighting. In fact, I think there's you can see some pictures online of. And I think, imagine coming across this on a boat if you were like some sailor. Somebody took some photographs of a battle between some sperm whales and some orcas off the coast of Australia several years ago. And I think in that instance, the sperm whales actually managed to fight off the orcas. And do you know how they did it?
How?
They freaking did a massive poo. Right? That sounds so random, doesn't it, out of context? Apparently what they did is, so they were being chased by the orcas, and the sperm whales basically released like a massive sperm whale poo. Right. Like, it sounds like I'm making this up, but I'm not. Like a cloud of like sperm whale diarrhea poo in the water, which apparently, as well, an interesting fact, looks more red than brown, which is primarily because they eat so much squid, right, that their poo turns red. And they did this massive poo, and it disorientated and like threw off the orcas, and it was just like they just hated it. And then that gave the and then I think they might as well have used their tails then in like while the orcas were like lost in the cloud of poo. The sperm whales can like use their tails to like bat the freaking orcas, which must have been like super painful because think about how big a sperm whale is. And then, just successfully, on that occasion, successfully repelled them. But if you go online, you can see pictures of that encounter. At least some pictures of, I think, the sperm whales, like heads breaching out of the water and things like that. But
man, what makes that even more cool, in my opinion, is that that's almost like a squid's like attack plan. Is to like ink their other animals.
They're like,
and they like learn something from the squids. That's just like pooed in the orca's face.
That's reminded me of like Dragon Ball Z a little bit, where like when like Goku was on like the planet Yardrat and he learned instant transmission.
Yeah.
Or like, do you know what I mean? Or like, or something that's like
reminds me of like,
it's like, oh, that's a good move. I'm gonna learn it.
Yeah.
Just like,
like Vegeta, every time he loses, he's like, I'll learn these moves and I'll come back stronger.
Yeah.
That's the sperm whales.
Like when Vegeta like first saw that like Goku had achieved Super Saiyan, so he was like, right, I'm just gonna go on this mission, and he went out to space and just like finally, and then he came back during the Android saga, and he was like, that's what in our heads, that's what the sperm whales like.
Yeah.
But so not only do orca whales sometimes hunt even sperm whales, which are the largest toothed predator in the entire planet, they also hunt and kill great white sharks, ripping out their livers to feast on their liver. And they have even been recorded hunting and killing blue whales, which are one of the largest, if not the largest creature that ever lived.
It's a big meal, isn't it, a blue whale? A big meal.
It's a hell of a big meal, man, isn't it? But that's just like, I mean, this is one of the reasons why, I've always like, the amount of pods I've just been like going on about how how just mental orcas are. But like, they are like, man. Like, they are just ruling the roost.
Yeah.
Aren't they? You literally, what animal out there could say like, oh yeah, I can hunt a great white shark, a sperm whale, and a freaking blue whale.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus, man.
Yeah.
That's freaking nuts, mate. That's freaking nuts.
Do you know what I find really interesting? And it's probably correlation, not causation.
What's that?
But the fact that both of those two animals are cold-based animals. Like you would tend to find orcas like in colder climates, wouldn't you? And they're obviously the same with polar bears.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably with the orcas. I think it's more accurate to say that they can live in anything,
right?
Because you get orcas off the coast of, I think, like South Africa, right? Which obviously would be quite hot. Yeah. Like off the coast of like Cape Town, place like that, would be very hot, wouldn't it? I'm trying to remember. I think maybe because a lot of the videos you see of them is always like them hunting seals in like in snowy climates. That's almost why. That's why they're so almost. That's another reason why they're so amazing though. It's because they can live anywhere. You can watch videos of them hunting seals like in like Antarctica. There are killer whale populations that live off the coast of Scotland, off the coast of Norway, which obviously would be freezing cold waters. But then also you can see them in places in like say North America off the coast where it would be like warmer parts of North America, places in South Africa. I think you can see them off the coast of Australia as well. Don't take my word for that, but I'm pretty sure one of the places they like to hunt great whites is off Australia. It might just be South Africa and California, places like that. I'm not sure, but yeah, they can live almost anywhere, which is crazy.
I wonder how they like regulate their body temperature and that. Like that seems like odd. Like normally it's like one or the other, isn't it? Like
yeah, well they're warm-blooded like us as mammals.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, I guess they've got very, very thick blubber and then like a hell of a lot of muscle, and I guess they've just evolved over a long time to deal with it. But yeah, I mean, I know they're very, very fast animals as well, so I guess just the constant swimming through the ocean, stuff, especially being that massive, must like keep them pretty warm.
I guess there would be slight differences between the ones that would be in Australia or South Africa to the ones that would be in like Scotland or Norway. Yeah,
we've talked about that on the pod before, haven't we? How like there's like basically like different
languages
like pods of different pods of orcas.
That's so cool.
Not only do they literally have their own language. So like say like killer whales that live in between Scotland and Norway would speak a different dialect to ones that say live like in like near South Africa or whatever. But yeah, they've like specialised to hunt completely different things. So I think the ones that live, I think I'm right in saying the ones that live more around the UK and Scandinavia more hunt things like tuna and that, and then some obviously are more designed to eat like seals, and then some hunt other whales, some hunt like great white sharks and other
like
sharks
the size
too,
they grow to and stuff are different, isn't it?
Slightly, yeah, slightly different. Yeah. The largest ever recorded killer whale was 32 feet long and weighed 22,000 pounds.
That's insane.
That's 10,000 kilograms. Whoa. For anybody that's ever deadlifted 100 kilograms in the gym, or even if you're strong enough to say I've lifted 200 kilograms in the gym on say like a deadlift, that you will know then how colossally heavy 10,000 kilograms is. Do you know what I mean? Like the strongest I've ever deadlifted is 260 kilos, and then to imagine that a beast that's 10,000 kilos is like that's crazy weight, man. I mean, when you put into perspective that like the largest ever polar bear was 1,002. So 10 times.
I'd love to see one just to be able to like actually sort of because I can't even visualize how big that is in my head. The 32 feet is massive.
Did you hear that there was another killer whale attack on a boat recently?
Whoa!
I think it was like off.
That's interesting.
I think it was like off the coast of France. I want to say maybe like Brittany. Would one of you be able to look that up actually? So like orca attack. Like orca attack on boat, like it's really recent, because there were those ones like was it last year or the year before in the Iberian Peninsula, like off like Portugal and Spain and stuff, and they don't know, like Halloween marine biologists. I don't know. It was off the coast of France. I know that.
Most recent sinking event prior to this one.
I don't think it was a sinking. I don't think it sinked. I don't think the boat sank. I think it just
demobilized.
Yeah, and then I think it got brought back by the Coast Guard or something like that. But there was like an attack off France, maybe like orca whale attack.
May 5th?
France. If it was May 15th of this year, that'd probably be alright, right?
Man, I'd be so terrified to like.
Oh, it'd be terrifying, wouldn't it?
Oh my god! Imagine if you were on like a surfboard. You see videos of that, don't you? Of like people on surfboards and like on their little canoes and stuff, and then you just see this pod of orcas come. I know they've never attacked like humans in the wild.
Never ever attacked humans in the wild. No.
But man, I'd still be pooing myself.
100%. It would be terrifying.
It would be one of the most scary things you could see.
A bunch of creatures between 20 and 30 foot long that are really intelligent and like basically like work like wolves, like in packs, and they're just like looking at you and almost being a bit like. Yeah, it's mad that they have never. Yeah, it's quite cool that they've never ever attacked a human in the wild. Isn't it?
I love that.
But it's quite sinister that for the first time in recorded history they've started attacking boats.
Yeah,
why? Like a lot of people like speculate. I've heard that like marine biologists speculate that it's because it might be a vengeance thing. So say if like because it only at the moment seems like it's isolated to a pod that live off the Iberian Peninsula, which makes people think that hopefully this attack in France or like near France. Was from the same pod because obviously it's not too far. Because what people are concerned about is if it's almost like skipping to different pods, then this might become a bigger problem.
May 12th this one.
But people
apparently.
May 12th this year. Was that off France? Yeah.
Gibraltar apparently.
This was off Gibraltar. Oh, right.
Yeah, like it.
All right, well, tell us about that one anyway, because that might be a different one.
On
or
Sunday,
maybe I
May
just got it
12th,
wrong.
an unknown number of orcas attacked the 49-foot-long sailing yacht named Alboran Cognac In the Strait of Gibraltar, a narrow body of water between southern Spain and North Africa that separates the Atlantic Ocean and Mediterranean Sea. During the attack, which began around 9 a.m. local time, the killer whales repeatedly rammed the boat's hull and rudder. The yacht's two-person crew radioed for help and was rescued by a passing oil tanker, but the vessel's hull sustained serious damage during the attack and the yacht began to take on water, which eventually caused it to sink. Crazy.
That's pretty sketchy. You would not want to be in the water, would you? Like, even though they've never attacked a human, it's quite like
once you're in there.
Scary, man. Imagine imagine like feeling the boat. Like, imagine them feeling the force of them, like ramming the boat, and then seeing the boat start taking on water. That'd be terrifying. Apparently, they've realised as well, haven't they, that all they need to do is take out the rudder and we're like a mobile in the sea. So they just like rip off the rudders. They just bite. They just bite the rudder and just rip it off, and then obviously you're just like you can't steer then, so you're just like screwed essentially.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, which is pretty nuts.
So intelligent.
Yeah, but what was I going to say? What was the point of what I was going to say? Yeah, they think that pod that have been doing it off the Iberian Peninsula, most likely they reckon that they think a boat would have accidentally hurt one of the killer whales when we ran them over, and because killer whales are so intelligent, they experience feelings of revenge. So maybe they're doing it as like imagine if say like your mum was killed. Or like really maimed by something, you would almost want to take vengeance on whatever you saw do that. So if they just see a boat now, they're almost like get triggered. Yeah, just get triggered.
It's
like
crazy.
Because they don't really know any other reason why they would do that. But I think as well, apparently most of the attacks have taken place by juvenile killer whales. So some people almost like theorize as well. It might almost just be like impish behavior.
Fresh attitude.
You know what I mean? Like they're almost
like testing their strength.
Yeah, like and almost like training their skills, like seeing like almost like just seeing if they can do it. You know, when it's almost like with some kids, almost like as an adult you might get annoyed, or if you're in school and you do something that's like a bit naughty, and a teacher's like, "Why did you do that?" And like you don't really have an answer. You just almost like did it to see if you could do it. Do you know what I mean? It's like that sort of thing, isn't it? It's like that sort of thing. But yeah, largest ever killer whale recorded was 32 feet long, 22,000 pounds. That's 10,000 kilograms. The only known predators of great white sharks and the only known predators of sperm whales and blue whales. Mental. In the air, what do you think is the current apex predator of the skies in the world currently?
Golden eagle.
Would you hazard a guess? Yeah, it is an eagle. Yeah,
I was going to say a falcon, so I'll skip out. I was going to say peregrine falcon.
Well, yeah, they're a lot smaller than eagles, though, aren't they? Obviously, they were the fastest, weren't they? They were the fastest birds. Remember when we did our fastest animals? But it's a toss-up between either the harpy eagle or the giant Philippine eagle. It seems obviously most likely that is the case. Obviously, no one's ever like taken all the largest like predatory birds on the planet and like made them fight to the death. But they are the largest of the eagle species anyway. Cool. So the harpy eagle and the giant Philippine eagle.
I've never heard of the giant Philippine eagle. That looks dope though,
mate. These are mental, dude. So the harpy eagle lives in Central and South America and has a wingspan of up to 7.4 foot and can be as tall as 3.6 foot tall standing on its legs. The giant Philippine eagle is known as the monkey-eating eagle by the natives of the Philippines and has become a legend of folklore there, with tales of a bird the size of a man swooping through the thick mists of the mountainside to prey upon the macaques that dwell in the trees. That almost sounds like epic.
Man, that is a cool looking bird as well. Very cool.
Yeah, man.
Very, very cool. I like his haircut.
Yeah, it looks a bit mental, doesn't it? It looks like it's got some gel in its hair.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that I love the fact that all like the natives in the Philippines have all these like folklores. But imagine how intense that would look on like a really thick, misty day, like a foggy day, and it's like all on the mountainside, and you just see this creature with an over 7 foot long wingspan, almost like they say like a bird the size of a man, just swooping down and just picking off a monkey and just like flying off with it. Like, that's quite sketchy.
That is insane.
Look at that bonnet.
I can't remember the name.
It's banging.
Look at that bonnet. Look at the wee bonnet on it. Look at the wee bonnet on the bear.
Can you see that? Can you see what I'm sharing on the screen?
Yeah, that's really cool. I didn't even know we could do that. That's really cool.
Man.
Look at that big boy.
Yeah, nice, man. Ah, big boy.
I think birds, if there was an animal out there that I think would be terrifying if they were like the biggest animal, like if I was to picture like land mammals, fish or birds, I think birds would be the creepiest. Like if you had like that animal but you said it was like the size of a plane, I think that's like the scariest living thing that you could possibly imagine.
I reckon if there was like some insect, something like that, like great hunter tarantula, if you got them the size of like a car or something,
even like an ant, Even like an ant.
Yeah,
true.
Imagine like an ant.
They're very alien, aren't they?
They're weird things, like the insects, aren't they?
Because don't they say this well? Like, can't like ants lift like 9 times their own body weight? So then imagine if an ant was the size of a car. Imagine how strong it'd be. So strong it could lift up a car and just like fling it like the freaking
anything
Hulk.
with like exoskeletons.
You know what I mean?
So it's like that almost like armor, like just like this like. Giant,
imagine a praying mantis with its giant eyes. And things like. They look so like alien and cold, don't they? And they just like f up. Have you even seen like those videos? Like they can even hunt and kill like some lizards.
Yeah, I was going to say that lizard. It's like starts eating it
and
alive.
It looked gross.
Yeah.
Oh, it looked gross. Yeah. They're so cold as well because they don't understand emotions, so they will just start eating things alive and not even care. Which I think is quite a scary concept to humans because we like to think that like we could almost like reason with something, and like even say like a dog, like imagine like a dog attacked you. You almost feel like if you like manage to like hurt the dog, then it might think like, oh, actually, like screw this or whatever, or like cold, maybe even the dog would almost feel a bit bad about it and maybe stop. But you know that a praying mantis would almost be like the Terminator, but like in bug form, a machine. Just like doesn't even comprehend like stopping or like maybe thinking that it shouldn't. It's just like, I will kill and eat you. Pretty nuts, isn't it? Imagine a colony of ants and everyone was the size of a car.
Man, imagine like waking up and you look out your window and there's just one like looking at you through the window. And it's like the size of your house.
Oh man, a lot of those insects as well have like creepy faces. Yeah. So if it was like the size of
even like a fly,
if it was like
up
a big
close
head, it would
with
look
all those
scary.
eyes and that. That looks so weird.
Have either of you seen the movie The Fly with Jeff Goldblum?
No.
Oh, dude, you guys should watch that. It's got like it's quite known as like a legend of like body horror because the whole like I don't want to like give the movie away, but basically he's like this scientist and he I think he creates like a teleportation device. That's the idea of it, right? And he successfully does it, right? He successfully teleports, and he's just got this like little lab, and he's got one almost like tube on this side, one tube on this side, and he manages to successfully teleport from one side to the other. And he's like, yes, I've like revolutionized like the world and blah blah blah. But what he doesn't realize is when he got into the first test tube, a fly was in there with him, and then when he defabricated and then refabricated in the other one, his DNA was like spliced and like joined with this fly. And then the story after that is him like gradually turning from a man like really slowly over the course of the movie, and it's quite like sinister because it doesn't happen quickly. The whole like that's at the beginning of the movie, and then the whole story over the next like I can't remember how long the movie is like an hour, 2 hours, whatever, is like this story of him and his girlfriend. And him slowly, very, very slowly. So at first he doesn't even look any different, but he just starts acting
weird. Black hairs
he just starts acting a bit weird and that, and he's almost
his hands together a lot.
No, literally, I think he is like rubbing his hands together, and he's like acting a little bit weird, and he suddenly starts realizing that he's like way stronger than normal, and he starts acting like though like almost like a bit brutal. You know, like a bit strange and a bit brutal. And there's a scene in that he goes into a bar and he has an arm wrestle with this guy, and he just snaps the guy's arm off and that, and it's like obviously everyone's like, what the hell? And then there's this really freaking cool but gross scene of I think like his missus brings him some food in the lab, and she's like, you've been acting real strange recently. And you know that like flies, to eat their food, they don't have teeth, so they almost like spit this like juice and enzyme on the food, which like melts the food, and then they suck it up. And there's this gross scene where she brings him his food, and then he's like, it looks like he almost like throws up on it, and he's like, bah! And then he starts like sucking up the food, and she's so like horrified.
Imagine.
I want to watch that movie.
Does he turn into a giant fly?
In the end, it gets full on like gross, like horrific, grotesque body horror, and he's like not fully a fly yet, but he's like crawling on the floor, and he's like, and he like can't talk anymore, and he's got these big bulbous eyes on his head, and it looks gross, so and there's all this like horrible like fluid, and it's freaking gross, man. I won't give away the ending, like what happens at the ending, but it's definitely worth a watch. I didn't actually realise this until a couple of years ago. If there's any horror aficionados out there, you will probably know this. But I didn't realise, but that I thought that was an original movie, but that was a remake of a movie that was released some decades before the Jeff Goldblum version. So Jeff Goldblum obviously is famous for being in the original Jurassic Park movie. Dr. Malcolm, I think he played in that movie. And he was also in Thor Ragnarok, I think. Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
He's a famous actor, anyways, and he's known because he's got a very distinct like speaking style, isn't he? Stuff like that. But yeah, that was a remake of like a vintage horror movie that was released sometime in like the 50s or 60s, and apparently that's a really good movie as well. I've never seen that one, but definitely worth a watch if you want to watch a good movie. It's not overly scary. And it's actually very well like acted as well. You know, it's got some really good actors in it. I remember like the woman, I can't remember the name of the actress, but the woman that plays his love interest, like his girlfriend in it, is really good. Her acting is good. Like you feel for her, man, because at the end of the movie, she's like really upset and she's like scared before that. You know what I mean, as well. And his acting in it is great. Yeah, imagine that. Imagine how horrible it would be if like you're like in love with somebody and they're slowly turning into this, and they're literally slowly turning into this like grotesque fly creature. Like she plays the part great because she's like scared, but she's like heartbroken as well.
It would,
you know, it's like horrific. Yeah, it'd be mental. Imagine your like other half that's like slowly turning into this weird fly creature and like throwing up on like
it's
crackers.
Like the more
and, like,
pints that goes in with me. It's like
that's what happened to you. Yeah,
more Scottish and weird.
Yeah. But luckily with you, you just wake up in the morning, you're normal again, and you're just like, I'm really hungover.
I just don't soak
randomly a bit emotional as well.
I still do the puking.
Yeah. Still puking, but not sucking it up, and just a bit teary-eyed. Don't put on a soppy movie when Drew's hungover because he'll get a bit upset.
3 weeks sober now, actually.
You 3 weeks sober. Inspired by Josh.
Inspired by Josh, and I've been drinking non-alcoholic Guinnesses.
Oh yeah,
really nice actually.
Me and Josh were both drinking that at Jess Jacobson's wedding reception.
Yeah, they're quite nice.
Yeah. On the old
still feels like you're having a pint, but like.
And I always think with alcohol-free Guinness, it tastes exactly like normal Guinness, pretty much as well. So whereas like some non-alcoholic beers
I've never really liked
taste a bit rubbish. Yeah. We're sort of going off topic anyway a little bit, but everybody. Remember, alcohol's not very good for you, so lower your alcohol intake. Let's see how long Drew can go without drinking beer, without drinking anything.
Yeah, because what Josh
alcohol.
is on like over 200 days now. I saw it's a little picture.
Yeah. Well, Christmas. That's basically what it was like after Christmas, wasn't it? I think. Well, I can't remember if it was New Year's Day or Boxing Day, but that was one of the two. He decided to go because I remember he said that it was after he was at your mum's on Christmas Day, and he said that he was just almost like the combination of just so stuffed. And almost just, he drank so much alcohol and he'd eaten so much cake and he'd eaten so much roast dinner that he said he just felt so rubbish.
I remember him saying he was going to cry. And then I remember him saying he was going to cry. And then my mum brought out the turkey rolls and I think he had like 2 or 3.
Yeah, it's got to be done. And then he went full like running man. Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah, literally, nice one, man. He went teetotal on his intoxicants and then just started running like all the time, sorted out his diet and then started like doing resistance training as well, and now does loads of burpees and push-ups and that, and now he is officially Super Jeff.
Super Jeff,
like Super Vegeta.
Yeah.
I like the idea that we're all slowly turning into Dragon Ball Z characters.
Yeah, I hope that's the case, man.
Who would we all be, do you reckon, Bullwinkle? You've got to decide.
I really hope I'm not Krillin.
I reckon Drew's Krillin.
I don't even
Drew's
know.
Yamcha.
Oh, mate, that's a burn. That is.
I haven't watched Dragon Ball in so long, man. I need to watch it again.
I reckon Willy would be Piccolo.
Piccolo's the cool one. Yeah, I think he was one of my favorites.
Nikki C would be like young Gohan, but only young Gohan. Do you know what I mean? Only young Gohan.
So good.
Yeah, it gets hard to tell with some of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just like the idea that Drew's bold, like Krillin, for some reason, even though Drew's not even remotely bold.
No, I'm Majin Buu.
Majin Buu's evil, mate. He's evil.
Dang.
Are you just going to go rogue and just be an evil one? Drew's just
I don't even know. I'm just looking at something and it looks funny. Cell looks cool.
Cell's quite cool.
He's evil as well.
Yeah, I'm going for all the evil characters. I'm Frieza.
All the ones that sort of look like aliens.
I don't know. I was thinking that Willy actually might be Piccolo, but Willy could also be Tien. I could see it.
Yeah.
Basically, almost like he's like like both Piccolo and Tien are like really big, but they don't say much. Do you know what I mean? They're not like the ones that are always doing the talking, but they're like just like they're heavies. Do you know what I mean? They're like in the back. They're quite big and imposing, but they don't do that much talking.
No.
But they're respected. Do you know what I mean?
I think I'd quite like to be Trunks.
Yeah, I could see you being Trunks.
I reckon
he's
Josh
quite like
would be
young
Master
and stuff.
Roshi.
Yeah.
I can imagine
just
Josh
like
as
some
that.
really old dude. some like old
freaking
martial arts
man. Like, you know, but just looking really
Master Roshi's the right. I forgot that Master Roshi was a perv. Yeah.
I'd be Chi-Chi.
Hey, Krillin. Hey, Krillin. Chi-Chi. Oh, what? That's Goku's missus.
Goku's wife.
Yeah, Goku's wife. There you go, man. Yeah, that's a fun little thing to ponder anyway, isn't it? Yeah. I don't even know how we got onto that subject. How did we get onto Dragon Ball Z characters?
Just
because we're talking about
from Apex Predators.
Oh, so no, then somehow we got onto the Fly. Oh yeah, Drew is definitely Mr. Popo. Drew is definitely Mr. Popo. How did I not even think about that? Yeah, Drew is definitely either that or Dende. Type in Dende, Drew. Dende. I think it's like DENDE.
Oh,
like Dende, Dragon Ball Z.
He's cool.
He's like this little dude, like shaman dude, this little green shaman dude.
That's the one.
And he's got like magic powers.
Oh, nice.
He's got like little magic shaman powers.
Nice wooden
little staff
thingy that looks a bit like a hammer.
Yeah, you're either Dende or Mr. Popo for sure. For sure. Yeah, man. And Willie's definitely either TN or Piccolo. I love how Josh is Master Roshi. Just around like that. It's so funny.
By no choice of his own. He's been nominated as Master Roshi.
Yeah. So I love how we just branched somehow onto what Dragon Ball Z character we are. We went from that somehow from Drew suddenly stopping drinking alcohol. Oh yeah, and then before that it was the Fly movie with Jeff Goldblum. Oh, before that it was how scary insects and birds would look if they were giant. And then before that we were talking about the largest the largest apex predators currently in the skies, which is obviously getting back to it, the Philippine eagle and the harpy eagle. Both have a wingspan of over 7 foot, and both are around 3.6 foot tall, standing on their hind legs. And both of them are, with the giant Philippine eagle, literally hunt like large monkeys and stuff. Really scary. There used to be a giant eagle, obviously extinct now, that used to live in what is modern day New Zealand. I can't remember how big its wingspan was, but it was so big it used to hunt humans.
Whoa.
Did you know that?
See, that's what I'm talking about. That's sketchy.
Man, it used to hunt humans, and the reason we know that is because there are Homo sapien bones, literally, so not even like Neanderthal or anything, Homo sapien bones that you can find in New Zealand with giant claw marks on the inside of the skull, where the eagles must have cracked open the skulls and scooped out the brains to eat the brains with their claws.
Is that a Haast
Can you
eagle?
Imagine? A Haast eagle, yes, Haast, Haast eagle, that's right, Drew, The Haast eagle used to hunt humans. Can you imagine? You're walking with your spear and your missus or your kid, whatever, in New Zealand back in the day, thinking, oh yeah, this is where Lord of the Rings was filmed, you know? Like, oh, I hope Sauron's not around here. And then fricking this giant eagle comes, swoops down, picks you up, you're like, oh, what? Literally like Gwai here in the Lord of the Rings, funnily enough, like one of those giant eagles in Lord of the Rings. Carries, but nowhere near as friendly, carries you off, kills you with its massive talons and beak, pops open your frickin' brain like we would crack open an egg, and then scoops out your frickin' brain with its talons and just eats you. That's brutal, isn't it?
Horrible. I watched a video this past week of a little kitten in a car. Yeah. And it was like in the windscreen of a car, and there was just this like eagle that was just watching him. And I think the bit that I find really sketchy about eagles is like their eyes. Like, they're so like...
I found a picture of an eagle chasing Nathaniel.
Staring at you the whole time. That's me.
I love the idea that's Bullwinkle.
That is me.
That's us in the background, like, oh no, Bullwinkle. We're like, run, Bullwinkle. With your bats out. That's just me with my rod out. I'm like, Bullwinkle, what are you doing? You're safer with us. And you're like, nah, man, I'm freaking out of here.
Man, that's why I'm terrified of him. That's my past life right there.
That's mental, isn't it? Yeah, that is mental. Yeah, well, obviously as well, like quite a well-known fact nowadays, but out of all the animals that are alive on the earth, birds are the closest living relatives of the dinosaurs as well, aren't they? Yeah, and like even like raptors. So we call obviously things like eagles. Yeah, we call eagles raptorial birds, and obviously raptorial birds. It's almost like they're descendants of the raptors, as in like velociraptors and Utahraptors, and also Deinonychus, which was another type of raptor. Yeah, it's like almost like they've evolved from the raptor dinosaurs, which is crazy.
Am I right in saying they think the raptors were feathered now as well?
They think they very well might have been.
Yeah.
I think there is some evidence, at least, that some of the species were. Right. I don't know how much it is confirmed that all of them were, but a lot of people speculate that they were, purely because the bones of modern-day, say, raptorial birds are so similar to the skeletons of the raptor dinosaurs that they think that, like, well, almost like, why wouldn't they have been? Do you know what I mean? But if we know that birds are descended from dinosaurs, like, when did they get that feather-like adaptation? And we also, and it is a fact as well, I think it was a dinosaur that was unearthed in China, a much smaller raptorial bird, but a much smaller raptorial dinosaur, but a raptorial dinosaur nonetheless, I think in China, where there's actually fossilized feathers. Fossilized feathers. So we know at least that animal, that dinosaur, that raptorial dinosaur did have feathers. And they think that it actually had the ability to, like, live in trees and probably glided from tree to tree. Whoa, but would have almost looked like like a raptor dinosaur. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Chickens.
Yeah, man, like giant evil chickens. What else? So let's have a chat now about what do you think. So we talked about the largest current apex predators on land, sea, and air. What do you think was the largest ever apex predator on land? So terrestrial apex predator, just on land, the largest one.
See, the name that I feel comes to mind is the Tyrannosaurus Rex, but I think there is one bigger than that. But I can't remember what that name would be.
Yeah, I mean, you're pretty much right, Bullwinkle. So the largest ever terrestrial apex predators known to science is a tie between several of the largest ever theropod dinosaurs. So theropod dinosaurs, for people that don't know, you might have heard of like sauropod dinosaurs. Sauropod dinosaurs are things like Diplodocus, Argentinosaurus. You've probably heard of like Brachiosaurs or Brontosaurus, things like that. Apatosaurus. There's lots of different. Anatotitan is the name of one of them. You might have heard of sauropod dinosaurs. Theropod dinosaurs is a name for all the ones like T-Rex, Allosaurus. If you've seen the latest Jurassic Park movie, there's Giganotosaurus is in that. If you've seen Jurassic Park 3, Spinosaurus is in that. They're all theropod dinosaurs. It's a sort of like a tie between the largest theropod dinosaurs because we don't know for sure what was the largest one out of all of them. The largest T-Rex specimens that have been found have been over 43 feet long. That's over 12 meters in length and weighed around 9 tons.
Damn, son.
Right, for a land animal, that is staggering. That's absolutely staggering. They were rivaled in size, though, by Giganotosaurus, Carcharodontosaurus, and Spinosaurus. All four of them were massive apex theropod dinosaur predators. They think that Spinosaurus most likely was the longest, not necessarily the heaviest, but the longest, because there are fragmentary fossils which indicate that Spinosaurus could get between 46 to 50 feet in length. So we said that the largest T-Rex specimens were about 43 feet long. So yeah, add another sort of up to 7 feet long for some of the largest Spinosauruses, but that's crazy, isn't it?
That is insane. One
thing I think is quite cool about Spinosaurus, it's almost like a cross between like a T-Rex and a crocodile. Like if you look up a picture of a Spinosaurus, they were semi-aquatic. What I mean by that, obviously, similar to modern-day crocs, so they could live both in the water and on land, and they could hunt fish and stuff in the water. But then a lot of people think that they would have hunted animals on land as well. But yeah, crazy animals. As I said, up to 50 feet long. Just like immense. And as I said, I mean, yeah, look at that. It is almost like a cross, isn't it, between like a T-Rex and a crocodile, but with a massive sail on its back. One interesting thing about Spinosaurus is that people don't know exactly why it had that massive sail. Some people think it was like for intimidation. Some people think it was to regulate body temperature. And some people think, a bit like a peacock's feathers, it was like to attract mates. So the same way that peacocks like have their big like plumage of their feathers to be like, hey babe, come get with me because I've got the nicest feathers. It would have been similar with Spinosaurus. Like it had like maybe like a really impressive sail, and then the ladies were like, "Oh, look at his sail! Crazy! I want to go and get a bit of that."
So was the Giganotosaurus? Is that bigger than a T-Rex?
They think it might have been. They rivaled it in size. Might have been a bit longer.
Yeah, because I'd never seen that. That
photos of that looks really cool. It's like camoed as well, like camo skin.
Really? Well, that's just artist interpretation.
Yeah. I hope that's real.
Yeah, I mean, as well, and the Carcharodontosaurus is about the same size as the Giganotosaurus as well. One thing that's cool about Carcharodontosaurus, so that's like I think it's Carcharodont. Yeah, and it's one thing cool about Carcharodontosaurus is that means shark-toothed lizard, because their teeth of all the big theropod dinosaurs, their teeth almost resemble shark teeth. So that's why it's called shark-toothed lizard. They had sharp, serrated teeth. You know when you ever see like a great white shark? Yeah, man. You know whenever you see like a great white shark tooth and it's like serrated on the edges like a steak knife? They had serrated teeth as well. Whereas the teeth of T-Rex were like giant, like crushing teeth, more like a crocodile's, where it would almost just like crush the meat and then rip it off, whereas that would have like sliced the meat and then like carved it off like a steak knife.
Damn.
Yeah, but like... So cool. So yeah, that's the largest ever apex predators known to science that we know of currently. So we don't know for sure because, as I said, there's different. Obviously, fossils are scarce, and it's hard to say. Because of how many there were alive compared to how many fossils are left. Even say the largest T-Rex specimen we have might have, just by the law of probability, actually been maybe a not even that
just
big.
An average T-Rex.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know what I mean? And the other ones might be all just, it just so happens that they're actually quite small. So we're going on obviously on averages, and we just have to go by what the evidence we have. But from what we know, it's sort of a tie between the T-Rex, Carcharodontosaurus, Giganotosaurus, and Spinosaurus. I think it's like, Spinosaurus was probably the longest. But they would have all probably weighed around the same and would have been, equally terrifying and massive to behold in person. The largest.
Sorry, I was just going to ask a question on just ones today of like, say in the jungle, like something like a giant, like say like green anaconda or something. That would be like massive. I mean, some of them aren't even documented, but say there are some like massive ones. Like I watched this video, this guy talking about one that he jumped on the back of this one and he couldn't even get. His arm.
I watched the same video.
Yeah, with
the same video.
It was
was it Lex Friedman or Joe Rogan?
Lex Friedman. Like I watched that, and he talked about.
I've watched both.
Oh, and it was like so interesting, and he swears that he was like deep into the jungle. And
he's full on like a. And he's like a wildlife expert as well. He's not like some chump who's just talking about it.
Spent his whole life
I haven't heard this. So a guy said he jumped on the back of a snake.
He jumped on the back of an anaconda.
One of these ones that haven't been
crazy.
actually like ever photoed or anything like that, but these like giant.
Because he says if you go deep,
Whoa.
He says if you go deep into the Amazon, you can find ones that are bigger than any that have been recorded. But the problem is when they get over a certain size, they're almost impossible to capture, or at least with the equipment that you have in the deep of the Amazon. Because obviously you haven't got like really like top notch, necessarily like state of the art equipment that you would have, in say like the middle of like America or the middle of Europe. So they're there with, like, in the middle of the Amazon, with like rudimentary equipment, and they're trying to capture like 25 feet long, 30 feet long anacondas. And the fact of the matter is they're just too big and strong to capture. But he talks about that one that dragged him underwater, and he said he had his arms around it like this.
Yeah, and he couldn't even get. He couldn't. I was like, whoa. And he said he had to just like let it slide. So he just ungripped and just let it slide. Like off him basically, or he was sliding off him as he let it go. But his friend who was there didn't was just like too scared to even like try and join in with catching.
Like paralysed.
Yeah. I would not want to mess around with that.
But say something like that would be able, if that wrapped around like some of the bigger animals, even like a jaguar or something, like it would be able to would that be more apex?
Oh yeah, I mean, I guess the thing is, the thing that defines an apex predator is, does anything hunt it, and does it hunt? So with a jaguar, I think the jaguar might possibly be the apex predator of the Amazon, purely going on the rule set of, I don't think, from what I know, and I don't think...
They're more opportunistic, aren't they? Like the snakes and stuff, like
what jaguars?
No, snakes,
snakes. Yeah. So what I was going to say is, I don't think, from what I know, that anything hunts a jaguar in South America. I'm pretty sure. I mean, you can see videos of jaguars hunting mental things. You can see videos of jaguars jumping into waters to grab crocodiles and pull the crocodiles out of the water, and then jaguars have the strongest bite force of any big cat. Even though they're not as physically large as a lion or a tiger, they have the strongest bite force, and they crush the freaking skull of the crocodile and then eat a crocodile. Like, it's going into like enemy territory as well. Apart from anything else, like a cat isn't designed to be in the water, but it's so confident in its hunting skills, it'll jump into water with a crocodile, which is the crocodile's preferred environment, pull it out of the water, and then kill it and then eat it. Like, so as far as I'm aware, there's nothing that actively hunts jaguars. I'm sure on occasion the odd crocodile maybe has pinched a jaguar, and maybe an anaconda's killed jaguar. I don't know. It's an interesting question. I don't think, but obviously with that said, I don't think that a jaguar would try and attempt, obviously, to kill like an anaconda above a certain size. You know, I mean, I don't know if they hunt anacondas at all. I'm sure if they would like saw one that was quite small and it looked like it was an easy kill, I expect they would. But I've never looked into the specific topic of do jaguars hunt anacondas. You know, I expect there's probably a mutual respect thing going on there a little bit, and if they're like quite near each other, then I could imagine they'd probably just leave each other alone. But I mean, maybe there are instances where they have been attacked. I don't know. I could imagine that for an anaconda, because they're constrictors, aren't they? They're what you could. They're what you.
So,
that's, no, they are. They definitely are. So that's what they would fall under the constrictor type of snake, which means that they crush their prey and then swallow them. I can imagine a jaguar would be quite a hard animal to swallow because of their like sharp claws and their teeth and everything. Like an anaconda could go for a much easier prey, like a capybara. Yeah. Like capybaras live in South America, and capybaras are the largest rodent on the planet. And like, let's face it, if you had to choose between trying to kill and eat a capybara or a jaguar, you'd go with the capybara.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose it'd be quite hard. Like you'd have to be pretty quick to be able to wrap around a jaguar as well. They're quite. They're
so stealthy. They're so stealthy. They're so quick. They're so strong as well. Do you know what I mean? They say it, don't they, about those big cats as well, like the stealthy cats, like the jaguars, leopards, mountain lions, and like snow leopards, the most like stealthy of all the cats. That like you could live your entire life in a habitat where they live and you'd never see them because they're so stealthy that if they don't want to be seen, they just won't be seen. So there are people that have lived in South America all their lives and they've never seen a jaguar.
That bit in the
because they're just so
in
stealthy.
The pod when he was talking about that, when he was in his hammock and he just like woke up in the middle of the night in the jungle and just heard the breath of the jaguar just next to his face, and I was like, whoa! And he's just like,
can you imagine that?
And then and then like as soon as he started moving, apparently he just had like the growl, and he just went completely still, and it was just interested in him. It didn't try and kill him or anything, just kind of like, and then he just went completely still. But I found it interesting what he was saying about being in like the middle of the jungle. And saying that he never felt threatened by anything in the jungle, like as in like jaguars don't generally hunt humans and stuff in there. Like they're like you said, they're stealthy. They'll stay away. Yeah. And he said, when this one came up to him in the middle of the night, it was almost just like curious of the scent and like, what is this thing in my territory? But like but saying that when he's out there walking or deep in the jungle and all these places, he never really feels that like. At odds with the jungle or that anything's going to kill him, apart from like weird freaking bugs and stuff like that. Like when he was talking about that thing when he nearly died,
savage disease.
From his he was looking after this little anteater, like had just like raised this little anteater from birth, and like
brutal.
This
is gross.
And then like he just felt these weird things happening to his face, and his face went savage, and he had these like I can't remember what it's called, but it was like these boils and stuff, and it was these little insects that would like live in his face, and like
wasn't it from
and got this like horrible fungal
and he had to get
thing.
back to the was that the one where he had to get back to the US, and he said he got back to like the passport control whatever, and the guy just took one look at him and just went
because he literally nearly died.
He was like. And his face was just messed up. I expect the guy just wanted him to get away from him as well, because he probably thought
looks like leprosy
that guy's got is contagious. I want him to get away from me now.
It's crazy that's even like a thing. Like you would think, like
deep in the Amazon.
If I was on on like the passport control.
Oh right.
I think if I saw that, I'd be a bit worried to let them in. Because I'd be like, man, what if I like start some weird epidemic, letting like this contagious disease in that like we don't know about,
Yeah, well, I guess he's lucky, to be honest, that the guy that was on it that day did just let him through and let him go to the hospital.
And maybe see he was American and stuff.
I expect some people
he's just been to the jungle.
100%.
He needs some help.
Yeah, but I expect some people would have been like what you just said, Bullwinkle, and as a result, he might have been a bit more screwed. But
insane.
Yeah, interesting. You're right. Yeah, so getting back to apex predators, the largest apex predator ever to live in the skies. What are your guys' thoughts? To be fair, this is a little bit more probably not well known.
Quetzalcoatl.
Yeah, well, yeah. So they think it's a. Just so you know, Drew, you've just become lost to. Oh yeah, there you go.
He's back.
That was just a magician's trick. The largest apex predator ever that lived in the skies is thought to be either a Quetzalcoatlus or a Hatzegopteryx. Both of them were massive pterosaur birds. Pterosaur reptiles. So that means that they were like essentially reptiles that obviously were adapted to live in the skies, to live almost like birds, but obviously they weren't birds. They weren't dinosaurs either. Some people think that they were dinosaurs. They weren't dinosaurs. They lived at the same time as dinosaurs, but they were a type of reptile that had adapted to live in the skies. But yeah, the largest ever predator in the skies is thought to either be Quetzalcoatlus or Hatzegopteryx. Both reigned supreme in the skies in the late Cretaceous, around the same sort of time as Tyrannosaurus rex. Both could reach wingspans of around 33 feet, that's 10 meters, and were roughly as tall as a giraffe stood on the ground, which is the tallest land animal alive today. So that's quite amazing, isn't it? Imagine seeing an animal with a 33-foot wingspan that was as tall as a giraffe when stood on the ground. You know, that's absolutely mad, isn't it? Just imagine how crazy the world would have been living in the Cretaceous. The Cretaceous seemed to be the period where the largest theropod dinosaurs lived, the largest creatures in the skies. Like, imagine just walking around, you see in the distance a Giganotosaurus or a Spinosaurus or a T-Rex, and then above you flies a Quetzalcoatlus or a Hatzegopteryx, 33 feet long. You know, it's bigger than some planes. Like, literally bigger than some planes. Like, that is absolutely
the biggest
mad.
I've ever seen is a condor, which I think is like 9 foot wingspan.
Oh, Chilean.
So that's like
is it Chilean condor, is it? I think it's Chilean.
This one was in Peru, but
Chile's next door, isn't it?
Andean condor. I think it was like Andes Mountains.
Oh right. Oh yeah, cool. Some animals, there's like several names for the same animal. If you know what I mean, like the way that there's like orca and killer whale. So maybe they're called like Chilean condors when they're in Chile. But do you know what I mean? Or maybe something different. I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Is it the Aztecs that would have worshipped Quetzalcoatl?
Yeah, so Quetzalcoatl was an Aztec god.
Yeah.
it might have been Mayan as well, I don't know. But
I'd love to know if there was any like huge birds that is what inspired that legend, like over there. You know what I mean?
Well, it is like, it's a myth of a giant reptilian creature that lived in the skies that was massive. So then when obviously, paleontologists first found the skeletons of Quetzalcoatlus, they called it Quetzalcoatlus, obviously in honor of Quetzalcoatl, which was obviously the serpent sort of like Aztec god of the skies. Because it was like, it's like almost like we found one. You know, we were almost like we found Quetzalcoatl. So they called it Quetzalcoatlus.
So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that this book called War God.
Graham Hancock.
You'd absolutely love, like, I reckon, like reading that, like the thing of like the Spanish
Inquisition,
conquistadors, going over and conquistadors, going over and like dominating all like the Mayan, they burnt and crucified a lot of them. It was like they weave in the story of Quetzalcoatl into it, and like it's almost like this demon god thing that's almost like playing them both off each other to create more death to it and stuff. It's like a real crazy like story, but yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, no, that is really cool, man. Yeah, that is really cool. Yeah, I mean that's mad. The whole sort of like Spanish invasion of sort of South America and all that stuff. I mean, because the Aztecs, man, they were like brutal, and obviously what I mean by that is like, they used to like the amount of people they used to sacrifice, and they used to have obsidian. They used to have obsidian weapons, so like made of glass, and they were like sharper than like the thing is with obsidian. So it has its pros and cons. So obviously it shatters way more easily than metal, but it's sharper than you can get a metal edge. So these like clubs that they had with obsidian pieces and stuff were brutal. Apparently, would just slice your skin like savagely. You know when you accidentally cut yourself on a piece of glass? Yeah. Imagine like that, but imagine it actually it's been like made like specifically to cut you, and it's just on this club, and they're like swinging that around, and brutal people. So that was like two very almost like brutal cultures in their own ways coming clashing, but crazy. Yeah, but a lot of the Spaniards, because they were obviously Catholic, and Catholicism back in the day was very extreme religion. I know that they crucified like a lot of the frickin' Aztecs, and they also like I think they like put a lot of them on crosses, but then like set fire to them and stuff as well. So that would be pretty brutal, man. Almost like crucifying and burning them at the same time, like burning them at the stake sort of thing. And
I remember it saying the Aztec side as well, like the amount of like sacrifices and those massive temples, like those pyramids that are over there. There's like Aztec pyramids. So like the Mayan didn't build them, but like they just inherited them from like the Aztecs. And would use them as their like sacrificial things. And they said like the blood like going down like a waterfall going down the steps of the pyramids and stuff.
Crazy,
and just like one after the other. Just they literally while they were still alive, be lying on the thing at the top and just cut their hearts out, and you'd still see the beat. They'd like see their beating heart still when they were like, alive and stuff.
I think there is like recorded archaeological evidence of like one specific mass like suicide event, and I can't remember how many people they thought that were killed in one day, but it was like a staggering amount. It was like 10,000 people in one day, or something ridiculous like that, which is like half the population of Bridgewater, which is
that's
like
insane.
Do, imagine
one after the other.
Imagine sacrificing half of Bridgewater today. That's crazy, isn't it?
Half our followers on TikTok. All just gone at once.
Oh, man. Yeah. Oh, we don't want that to happen to you guys. Thanks for mentioning the TikTok ones, man, because that's our biggest one. Just a little reminder, actually, for anyone that is listening to the pod and they enjoy it, remember we actually are out there on all social media platforms. We're out there on Instagram. We're out there on TikTok, YouTube, or Spotify. We used to be on Facebook, but for some reason I've lost my link to Facebook and I can't get it back. So screw you, Facebook.
Screw Facebook.
But Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify. Please give us a follow, guys. We'd really appreciate it. Show us some love. And if you're listening to us on the radio, then really appreciate you listening to us on AW Radio every Monday night at 9 p.m. Remember as well, you can listen back on our listen again playback feature on the AW Radio website. That's all groovy, baby. All groovy.
Baby.
We appreciate all of you, friends of the pod. Right, and finally, the largest apex predator ever to live in the seas. Do you guys hazard a guess? To be fair, this is super hard, so I'm not going to expect you guys to know this.
This real weird one that looks a bit like a squid that's got this massive like ice cream cone like shell.
No, that was obviously.
Oh no, that might have been the largest one. I remember I looked it up once.
That was the largest one of a certain period. Of a certain period, but not the largest one of all time. Would you want to hazard a guess?
I'm thinking I wouldn't know the name of it, but there's this like huge beast in like one of the Jurassic Park movies.
Like a mosasaur.
And it's called a mosasaur. Massive.
Mosasaur was definitely one of the largest things to ever live in hunt in the seas, but it's not the biggest. I can imagine that some people might think megalodon shark, and that would be a fair guess. But the problem with megalodon sharks is there's too much guesswork involved and too many question marks on the megalodon shark, because we just don't know enough about them currently. Some lower estimates on size place them at 33 feet, which is obviously only a foot longer than the largest killer whale that's recorded. And some upper size estimates speculate that they were up to 65 feet. Some people
insane.
think that they were even bigger than that. But it's just there's too many variables because of the fact that they're sharks. And they don't have bone skeletons like us. They don't fossilize. The only thing that fossilizes is their teeth and certain parts of their vertebrate. And the thing is with teeth is there are lots of animals that have disproportionate teeth to the rest of their body. Do you know what I mean? So there are some animals that have massive teeth but relatively small bodies compared to the size of their teeth. There are other animals that have massive bodies and relatively small teeth compared to the size of their bodies. So it's very hard to judge. Another potential contender for the largest aquatic apex predator of all time is an ancestor of the modern sperm whale, the mighty Leviathan melville. We have much better fossils of these beasts, and they are estimated at growing between 44 to 57 feet long. They would have had large brains, very intelligent animals, and notably as well had the largest teeth of any animal that ever lived. Like giant teeth, bigger teeth than T-Rex, bigger teeth than Megalodon. Like if you Google, anyone that's out there, Google Leviathan melville teeth. They are crazy, man. They are crazy the size of them. And these were giant ancestors of sperm whales that used to like swim through the oceans, pretty much eating whatever they want. Marine biologists and paleontologists speculate that sometimes maybe megalodons and Leviathan melville battled in the seas because they were alive at the same time, which is quite cool, isn't it? That's quite a cool fact. But obviously we don't know for sure. Yeah, look at that. Look at that, guys. Look at that. Look at the teeth on that. Imagine that, like the size of like almost like a modern day sperm whale, but with teeth like that. And like, yeah, just their brain cavity would have been massive. Would have just been, awe-inspiring.
I think that's what makes me like feel like I need to back the whales more, is the fact that they just are a bit more intelligent.
They're more like us. Yeah. Well, they're mammals as well, which, we're all part of the same mammalian family at the end of the day. I always feel like, I don't know about you guys, but I do, and I think it's one of the reasons why humans like things like cats and dogs, and even, like bears. You know how like we give our kids teddy bears?
Yeah.
Like, even though bears are savage, it's like, there's something about the fact that bears, dogs and cats and even whales are mammals that we're like, they're sort of like our cousins. They're like our distant relatives. Whereas you see, like we were talking earlier about praying mantises or ants or birds or like crocodiles, they seem a bit more like sketchy and we can't associate with them the same. So we're a bit more like, I'm not so sure about you.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure about you, mate, actually.
I always think like whales and dolphins and all the mammals of the ocean, they to me just always seem a bit like puppy-like.
And they also, it's like you can tell that they know that we're mammals, and as a result, they have this mutual respect for us. Like, all right, yeah, like with killer whales, it's like, all right, yeah, they literally kill great white sharks. They literally kill, like, things like that. But they're sort of fascinated by us, and they're like, well, you're mammals too, so we'll leave you alone. I did just realise, though, I guess one thing that you could say against that is that they do hunt other whales and dolphins, which are also mammals. Which makes me wonder even more, what is it about us that they put... No. Why are they so chill to us? I mean, I know we talked earlier on about them destroying a couple of boats, but there's not a single instance in the world of a killer whale
intelligence thing, do you reckon? Like, they can sense the intelligence.
But some people think that sperm whales might be the most intelligent animal overall on the planet. We also know that dolphins, and obviously blue whales, any species of whale, are all exceedingly intelligent, and obviously would have a lot more in common with a killer whale than even we would. So you think if they were going by that logic, they would leave them alone as well, wouldn't you? But they don't.
I think that would be if I could like have one question to the universe answered, that would be one of the main
Why
ones.
don't killer whales attack us?
Yeah.
I love that.
Like, what do other animals think of humans? Yeah. Because I do wonder if like other like dogs and cats and stuff, are they more are they likely to react differently if they saw a human to another animal?
I've heard that I can't remember which way around it was. Don't like dogs think that you are a dog. And as a result, they don't dogs like almost like think of you as dogs, and that's why it's very important, obviously, for them to know their point in like the pecking order and stuff in like the pack, so that they will listen to you. Because then it's like if a dog challenges you, if you don't know how to train it, it will try and challenge you for almost like alpha and things like that. I think it was something like that.
Like from having a dog, like he definitely acts differently towards humans than he does to other dogs. If you know what I mean, like when he sees a dog, he acts completely different to when he sees a human. So I think he can differentiate.
It might have been that a dog thinks he's a human. I can't remember. I think it's either a dog thinks humans are dogs, or a dog thinks of itself as a human, which might make more sense with what you're saying with your information about Rupert, in terms of like maybe he thinks he's just a human, like chilling with you. But so then when he sees another dog, though, like he doesn't realise that that's like his same species, if you know what I mean. But he's maybe seeing that as maybe like either like a threat, or he's just for some reason unknown to him, it's like fascinating to him. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, they do like the whole dog thing where they like try and sniff each other's ass, and they do. Do you know what I mean? Like all that. You wouldn't do that to another human.
You would, Drew. You would definitely do that to another human.
I show my dog itself in the mirror sometimes, because I always think that's you. That's what you look like.
I've done that with cats.
I think that's quite cool.
Yeah. I don't think they really care that much, though.
No, they almost look a little bit like freaked out.
No, I think they're just like, all right, yeah. But taking us back, so we talked about the Leviathan Melville, who is estimated at growing between 44 and 57 foot long. I said with large brains, largest teeth ever in history, are between 40 and 57 tons, right? But I can confirm that as of what we know right now, the largest apex predator that ever lived in the sea, and the largest apex predator ever in history, was called Ichthyotitan sevenensis, and it was discovered.
That's a cool
name.
It
was discovered just down the road from us. It was discovered on Lil Stock Beach.
Damn.
Yeah, it was discovered in Lil Stock in Somerset, and it's thought to have been the size of a modern blue whale, but with teeth built to hunt and kill, making it most likely the largest apex predator in the history of planet Earth. That's Imagine awesome. That. A creature basically the size of a blue whale, but with big teeth that hunted other animals. That is crazy. That's like an animal the size of a freaking massive ship.
Yeah.
Just cruised in the oceans, just like killing something. Bigger than a megalodon, bigger than a Leviathan Melville. Why? There's those like Meg movies with like Jason Statham.
Yeah.
Why don't they just make something with that?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Ichthyotitan 7.
And man, that is you could call it the Titan. Like, what a cool name, Yeah. Ichthyotitan. What was his last name?
Ichthyotitan 7ensis.
Oh man, that is like a full-on like final boss kind of name, isn't it?
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah,
Very
dude.
Cool.
Yeah, man. Unless you guys want to add anything, I think we'll wrap up the pod today. So we've learned about all the largest apex predators of all time and the largest apex predators living currently on the Earth in both land, sea, and air. We've obviously also talked about the Trump assassination attempt. And we've also been talking about other cool bits in between, whether it's like imagine if insects were giant. Have you seen the Fly movie? What Dragon Ball Z character are we?
Which one would you want to be, by the way? You never said.
What do you mean? What one?
Dragon Ball Z character.
I don't know. I don't know if I like sort of suit being any of them in particular. I mean, I'm happy for you to appoint me one. If you want to appoint me one. I feel like I'm not quite angry enough to be Vegeta, but I'm not quite happy enough to be Goku.
You're somewhere in between.
Maybe like if Willie's TN, maybe I could be Piccolo and Willie can be TN.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Who's the one with the eye in the middle of his head?
TN. That's the one that we said Willie.
Yeah.
Cool. That's Willie. I'll be Piccolo then. The big green guy.
Piccolo's
with
cool.
Like that's probably. Yeah, I mean, I'm not quite as serious as Piccolo.
No.
But I feel like probably suits my. If I'm maybe in like quite a serious mood, I can be like Piccolo. You know. But then I guess yeah.
You'll probably be Giant Bomb.
Giant Bomb. Who's that?
Who's Giant Bomb? I just seen one called Giant Bomb.
I've never known of a Dragon Ball Z character called Giant Bomb before.
Man, that's you. Giant Bomb.
I'm the new Dragon Ball Z character, Giant Bomb.
Imagine I search it up, it is just a photo of you. Dragon Ball Z character, Giant Bomb.
Who is Giant Bomb?
Have you seen the new Dragon Ball Super?
I haven't, no.
Oh, you haven't? I was going to say, there's a
is that the one with like the yellow Piccolo or something?
Yeah, well,
in which case I have.
Have you not seen? Have you seen the Tournament of Power? I think it's called.
Yes, I have.
I was
going
to say like Topo.
Yeah,
Topo, the one with like the big mustache.
Yeah.
You realize like Topo.
Man,
that'd be like quite like a funny one for me to be. Dragon Ball Super Drew Topo, like TOPPO Dragon Ball Super.
Dragon Ball.
Who's
Super.
like the big bad? Jiren. Jiren's like
Jiren. Jiren. Yeah. I don't think any of us are like Jiren.
No.
Do you want to get that up on the screen for anybody that's watching on YouTube or Spotify? I'll be Topo.
Yeah, where we go. That'd be good because then that one and if Josh was
what Master Roshi?
Yeah, they'd look quite similar, but
yeah. But I'm just bigger than that. Yeah. Check that out. Yeah, there's me, man. I don't know if you've noticed as well, but I've proper grown out my beard and moustache recently, so it is looking quite Topo-ish. It's quite bushy in it at the moment. Yeah, man, I've gone full Topo. Yeah, look at that. There's me, mate. Yeah. I haven't been in that good shape for a long time, man. But yeah, I'm more like this version, more like one of the top left versions at the moment. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. There's me, mate. There's me on my way to train later on. But yeah, guys, thanks for listening today. You have been listening to Pandora's Box. We love you. We'll be bringing you some more Pandora's Boxes soon.
Oh,
and yeah, always appreciate you guys listening. Have a good week, everyone. Ta-ta for now.
Bye-bye.